difficulties, as you know, logging on. So just give me a minute here to get my equipment set up. Okay, and I see our chair jumping on right now. So I will hand it over and chair. We were just about to kick it off and call roll. So you're all yours.
All right. Thank you for filling in for 2 minutes. I appreciate it. So Tony, roll please.
Arenas?
Here.
Cohen?
Here.
Davis?
Here.
Peralez?
Here.
Jones?
Present. All right. So we're going to start out with the agenda for Tuesday, February 9th. And I'm going to start out on pages 4 and 5. Pages 6 and 7. Page 8 and 9. Ten and 11. Twelve and 13. 14 and 15. 16 and 17. And that's it.
I'm not
And
sure.
there's an ad sheet as well.
I'm not sure where's the right time to bring up like procedures, meeting procedures. Is that like on page 1 or 2? Like
You can, let's bring it up. Let's go to the public comments first. And I see 2 hands raised, one number ending in 4963. You can go ahead and speak.
Yeah, hi, Martha O'Connell. I wanted to share with you an issue that I've been bringing up for over 10 years, and now maybe that we have some new blood on the council, maybe this issue will get some traction. And that issue is the placement of items on council agendas, the order of placement. I'll give you a specific example. Last night, an item critical to the mobile home community was not heard until 11 p.m. Seniors, disabled, and workers who had to get up early, quite frankly, dropped off our speaker list. This placement of issues critical to underrepresented groups so late in the agenda prevents the council from hearing their voices. Another example, about 3 years ago, mobile home folks were kept waiting for over 2 hours. There was a young woman of color sitting next to me with a baby. The baby was good for about 2 hours, and then it started fussing. Not screaming, not yelling, but fussing. The security guard came up and told her that she was going to have to leave. She could not afford child care. She had to leave that meeting, and she could not give her input. There's a feeling in the community that the council does this deliberately to prevent voices on controversial issues. I do not share that view. I think it is due to an insensitivity on the part of some councils and some mayors. We can do better to facilitate citizen involvement. So I ask you, council members, to carefully consider the time scheduling of issues when you know that there's going to be a lot of public comment, such as a rent freeze. Thank you for your consideration. We can do better.
Thank you, Martha. Blair?
Hi, thank you for those words from Martha O'Connell. And how 2.2 and 3.5 can speak to the eviction moratorium. Thanks for your work and understandings from all sides with your eviction moratorium you passed last night. To simply practice how to make clear and to offer again, COVID-19 seems to be a man-made creation made up and planned by an elite select few. Everyday people should not have to be blamed and then held to its debt burden. It is from this thinking, along with a belief of urgent emergency needs, we seem to have agreed as a society to cover about 80% of rent forgiveness ideas at this time. How do we organize, understand, and convince ourselves there are safe financial and funding plans that can cover the final 20%? To speak to VTA bus station issues, as I've spoken before, that's item 2.13, bus advertising. As I've spoken before, I hope the VTA will establish some sort of advertising ethics review board and public process review for any new large advertising that is placed in the future of VTA transit hubs. I ask we learn how to keep out offensive advertising and advertising that does not work towards the ideas of equity, reimagine, and peace. In fact, as we are all becoming more comfortable with the ideas of state funding that can very much help our local government communities at this time, and with the VTA's own good accounting adjustments to the budget, its own budget at this time, is it possible to consider scraping altogether the large advertising plans to be placed upon VTA bus transit stops and kiosks? And to conclude about lethal force issues, 4.1, less lethal use of force issues, I hope a police peer review program is also developing well and can offer counseling and healing to both police and everyday community in real time. Thank you.
Thank you. The number ending in 1541. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Glenna Howcroft, and I'm one of the residents in a mobile home park in District 7. And I was at the meeting last night talking about the issue of rental freezes. Anyway, there's a real problem with, I agree with Martha when she was talking about you need to have things, you need to consider the people that are seniors, parents with young children and infants, disabled people, essential workers who can't stay there a long time. And we weren't able to speak until like 11 o'clock at night. And we had people that actually dropped off of the phone, people that had agreed that were going to speak, and they didn't. They weren't able to. They weren't able to stay on the phone that long. And so please take into consideration that, you know, not all of us can stay up late for one reason or another, whether it be somebody young with babies or young children, or if it be somebody that's older and disabled. Not everybody can keep long, late hours, and if you take more consideration, be more cognizant of how you line up these issues to be covered in the council meetings, that would be muchly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. All right, bringing it back to my colleagues, Councilmember Cohen.
Hi, thank you, Councilmember Jones. As a new council member, I have been observing council meetings for just, participating for about a month, and I just have a kind of a suggestion for, at least from my perspective, for what I think could allow for a little bit more, what I think would be a more debate style or discussion style conversation during council meetings, in terms of the way we allocate time for council members to speak. Although I don't think it's prudent to have time limits, because I know there's been discussion in the past about time limits on council members speaking. I think it might make more sense to rotate more frequently between council members speaking, so that if we want to be able to have a free discussion between council members on issues, we maybe have blocks of time that we spend for each council member to move through the list of hands of speakers before going back to council members who have more to say. So maybe some kind of time rule on, I don't know whether it's 5 or 10 minutes, so that we can get through. And if somebody's trying to respond to something somebody else is saying, they can be able to respond more, sooner to that before going back to somebody who wants to say more on a topic. So I'm just thinking this is maybe something for another rules committee meeting in the future to talk about how we provide a more free-flowing discussion or debate during these topics in a way that allows the voices to be coming through more readily from one council member after the other. Is more of a discussion as opposed to kind of a long line of council members speaking one after the other. So I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, or if we want to have that conversation now or at a future date. But I think as I've been observing the meetings, I feel like sometimes we end up with council members speaking long after the other. Like if I want to say something and I put my hand up and I'm speaking an hour after the person I'm responding to, it's sometimes hard to be able to have that discussion with that other council member. So I think if we maybe say, put 10-minute time limits and then come back without limiting the total time someone speaks, but kind of shortening the blocks of time that people are speaking, we can have a more of a conversation between council members during the discussion. So that's kind of my suggestion of maybe how we open up that discussion more at council meetings.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's actually a great suggestion. As you know, we've tried other techniques and ideas to try to address some of the issues around continuity in conversations. And I think it's worth a try, but definitely want to hear from my colleagues to see what they think. And I see Councilmember Arenas raised her hand. So go ahead.
Thank you. That could be a perfect example of interjecting into and having a free flow conversation, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, it also could be an attempt to interrupt somebody, right? And an idea. And so we've been playing around with the time limits for quite a bit. And I know some people feel very strongly about them. I think today what I heard from some of the speakers, though, was really an opportunity for them to speak and to have time certain for some of the issues that are important to them, and maybe recognizing during the rules committee that if it's a senior related item that we consider that, or if it's a more familial, kids to bed, and but it has to do with childcare, or whatever that item is, that we have time certain, or we're maybe more cognizant of that. And so I think in that spirit, I also like to bring up that 4.1 might be one of those topics in which we will have a lot of speakers, and we may want to think about having a time certain, but I'm open to hearing from folks. I know our work week is a little, for us, is a little flexible. We don't really come home at a certain time because we're always home. But there's some folks who literally, they're in real person, have work is somewhere else. So if we want to take that into account and maybe have it at the beginning of our evening session would be my recommendation.
Okay. You want to make that in the form of part of a motion or?
So moved.
Okay. And then that includes the ad sheet as well.
Including the ad sheet, yes. And I don't have a solution for Councilmember Cohen, what you're bringing up. I don't have a solution for that at all, because we've all been trying to brainstorm on that, but that's my piece. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hi, this is Tony, the city clerk. I want to clarify the motion. This is item 4.1, and you said at the beginning of our evening session, we don't technically have an evening session. So do you want that not before 6?
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Tony. I always think we have an evening session because we go through the night.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Okay, yes.
I think the
Okay,
issue
so
isn't just
four-
not before 6, but not after a certain time also, though, right?
Oh, we've never done that before,
Yeah.
I think the
actually.
concern is also not making it too late.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm open, yeah, I'm absolutely open to that. So maybe
Wow, it's a
not
concept.
before 6,
I don't know how you do that.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
also not before 8, between
after
6
8.
and 8.
so do we stop what we're doing to go to that, back to that item, or how would that work?
I don't know. How do the cable guys deal with it when they say there's a window?
I don't know if we want to replicate the cable experience,
Yeah,
but I hear
know.
what you're
It's
saying.
absolutely frustrating.
Yeah.
Well, I'm open to the idea. I don't, other than saying to have the item between 6 and 8. I just maybe at 6, but after 6, but not after 8.
Okay. Not before.
Okay, so this is Tony.
I tell
Yes,
you.
Tony. Give us a reality check, Tony.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a little reality check. We do usually have a dinner break sometime between 5:30 and 6. That between a half an hour to an hour. So if you have not before 6 and we have, you know, I just want to,
Mhm.
I just want to say we do have a dinner break sometime in that, not before 6, but not after 8 p.m.
Mhm.
Although if you start right after the dinner break, it's probably not an issue. But just wanted to make sure you guys were thinking about that.
Right. Now, I think that's a great point. Councilmember Reyes, I would suggest that maybe we keep it simple this time. At least we got the conversation going, and we can think about it further.
Yes.
But let's keep it simple and just say not before 6, and then we can, in future rules meetings, we can kind of work through how that would work if we had and not after time as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So if we do not before 6 p.m., it really won't be till 7 p.m. if we have a dinner break. So we might want to do not before 5 p.m. so it can start, or I just, you're going to have.
So it could start at 5. So have a time certain at 5, closer to 5, at
Right,
least
'cause
folks
I'm
have
just-
an hour.
Yeah, that we can
Comments.
start, the presentation can happen, but we do not before 6 and we take a 6 p.m. dinner break. It's really a not before 7.
What's wrong with saying is it possible to say first item after dinner break? Is that like a reasonable thing to put on the agenda?
We've never done that.
Well, I think this is because
I
it's
think
time certain.
If
and-
you'd have to specify what time the dinner break is.
Yeah.
Okay. So not before 7 then, if we always are having dinner and ending at 7, then say not before 7. Because if we think there's a chance that it would end, that we would not be ready to do it at 5, and you have people tune in at 5, and then you end up going till 6 and having people take a dinner break, that they've tuned in at 5 and had 2 hours wasted waiting for the item, right? So if you say not before 7, then you started at 7, right? And then people don't waste 2 hours waiting for it.
No, if you say not before 7, it just means you can't speak about it before 7, but it could be that we bring it up at 9 p.m. Right?
Yeah. That.
So if it's time certain, maybe this could be maybe time certain at 5:30, and then that way we give an hour of comment time. If we take a dinner break at 6:30, so from 5:30 to 6:30. So if we have a time certain at 5:30, we could then take a break at 6:30 and resume at 7:30, which I think continues to be a reasonable time.
Yes, if we could stick to the time certain. Again, that might mean we'd have to literally stop a discussion,
Right.
go to this item, and then go back to the other item.
This is Nora. Let me just jump in here for a second, just so you have the language. Under your rules of conduct, the time certain says some items may be listed on the agenda approved by rules for a time certain or not before a certain time. Such listing means the item is heard as soon as reasonably possible after the specified time, but not before. So you might want to think about if you're worried about something going late into the evening, it's as reasonably as possible. You're going to have it heard after that time. So
Means that it's the first item you put after that time. You don't have to go in order, right? You don't have to.
if you set it for a time certain under your rules, yes, it would go when the magic witching hour occurs, or as soon thereafter as possible.
Okay. Let's get, I know Councilmember Davis wants to chime in, so let's hear from her and then we can come back. Councilmember Davis?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Cohen, I really like your idea. As others have mentioned, we've been trying to kind of play around with it and determine what is the best way for everyone to be heard and to, frankly, to be brief so that we can respect the residents' time, especially when they're coming to speak on a later item, as we've heard today. That can be a problem. So I like the idea of doing kind of like 5-minute, in a way, kind of opening statements, and maybe that's all you have, and then letting the discussion kind of flow from there. I think that's a great. I think 5-minute increments, or maybe 10, but 5-minute increments is a good way to get through everybody in an hour, right? So I really like that idea. I don't know if that's something, and maybe Nora can tell us, is this something that we could put with this agenda, or is this something that it has to go kind of memo process so that we could discuss it as a council, or is it just something the mayor can decide?
I don't think it's something that the mayor can decide. You decided coming out of rules a couple months ago to try the 15-minute shot clock, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And then that was, you've been following that. And so I think rules can put together a proposal, and then it would be adopted by the council. It may end up in your rules of conduct. That may be the best place for it.
Okay. Does it have to be a separate agendized thing, or can we just do it while we're talking about meetings right now?
I think you, in terms of a timing, I think you were, I think the last time you did the 15 minutes, I'd have to go back and look, but
I think we just did it on the fly.
I think you did here at rules, and then, and you, as a group, you sort of decided you were going to live with it, as, you know, to some extent at the meeting.
Right. Yeah, it was, I think it was discussed at the following meeting at orders of the day or something like that.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm happy to support the kind of the 5-minute round robin idea. I think it's a good one. Regarding item 4.1 and the time certain, I was looking at the agenda before item 4.1. We don't have, there's one item that's a recommended deferral. There's no COVID report, which always is the thing that takes up the most time. And then we do have the mid-year budget review report at item 3.3. Lee, do you have a sense of how long that's going to take? I think I haven't read it yet, so I'm not sure if it's all very bad news, which takes longer, or reasonably okay news, which won't take as long.
I think, you know, that's a great question, council member. I think there's definitely some discussion there that the council will want to participate in, but it's clearly not going to be the length, at least what I would believe, of a 3.1 or what we did yesterday. So I would agree with you. The agenda seems somewhat manageable, where you might not be bumping up against the dinner hour on this.
Okay, so if we set a not before 5 o'clock on 4.1, that should give us plenty of time, and we might even be able to slip in the 6.1 before 5 o'clock. before we get to the less than lethal use of force options. So I'm comfortable with just doing a time certain of 5, not before 5 p.m. and then we'll just take the dinner break after that. And then it looks like we'll come back for land use because there are quite a few general plan amendments, looks like, or maybe just 2. Looks like the other ones are deferred. Just a second.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Perales.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the discussion as well. And I think, we have kicked these challenges around for some time, things like hearing items really late in the evening, sometimes just the basic setup of our agenda. We have a traditional order, right? And we were recognizing that before, where there are certain departments that are at the end of that order regularly, and so they're always kind of at the end, and we've tried to be conscious of that, at times moving that. I don't know if there's a perfect solution out there. I do think that, if it's in specific regards to a meeting or an item, I think we can address that here at rules. If it's in regards to time, I think limits, we've done that here as well at rules as a suggestion, and then the council has taken it up at orders of the day, as Nora pointed out, and I think that can be done again right here. We can sort of make a suggestion there. But I think if it goes deeper than that, where we're looking at the dynamic of the conversations, the orders, the time, all that, as Councilmember Cohen was pointing out, kind of potential for back and forth or whatnot, I do think that's probably a broader discussion that we would want to agendize and maybe discuss it. I think it's worthwhile because certainly we shouldn't assume that we have it nailed down and that we should just keep doing things the way we've been doing things because that's how we've been doing them. And certainly a lot of challenges that we've run into in that regard. In what we're going to vote on now, so I guess the suggestion at the moment is it not before 5 then? Is that the...
That was Councilmember Davis's recommendation based on the items that we had on the agenda.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm comfortable with that, and kind of looking at the agenda too. I think that it's not going to be as meaty. One thing that I think, we certainly we do this often, where we will pick, sort of a not before time, and that doesn't always, work in people's favor, as we see, right? Like this past week, not before 6 could mean 11:30 p.m. So, so maybe you don't watch the meeting up until 6, but you're still, you're still not necessarily speaking on an item at a reasonable hour. And so the not before is not always that great, quite frankly. I think the time certain, right, gives a little bit more certainty. It's not perfect, right? Because sometimes, right, we're on the middle of an item, and as Nora pointed out, we'll sort of wait till we conclude that item. So you try to get as close as you can to a time frame. I think that provides a little more certainty, which is good. At the end of the day, I don't know how much certainty we can ever provide, because there's things like the consent agenda, and sometimes we fly through it. Other times, 10 items get pulled off, and so it just makes it hard. I do think one thing that has been a tool we've been utilizing through the pandemic that has been helpful has been the orders of the day and moving consent after 3.1, and not necessarily kind of essentially saying, hey, 3.1 is so important, or we know it's a long discussion, right? We want to get the idea was as well early on last year. If you all can remember it, we wanted to get people back to the EOC or focusing on that. So let's do 3.1 first, and then maybe consent. I think that should be a tool that we consider here at Rules to utilize even beyond the 3.1 items. That if we ever feel there's something that, hey, we don't want people to wait around till 3 or even 6 with an uncertainty time certain, is there something that's really pressing, and do we want to put it up to, the front? Now, the the sweet spot challenge there, as we all know, is that there's a disinterest on wanting to hear something too soon because people got to work, and so you hear something at 1 o'clock and a lot of people are not able to participate. But you hear something at 11:30 and not a lot of people are able to participate. And unfortunately, we can't hear everything between the 5 to 8 time frame. It's just there's too much work to get done for everybody to be able to participate in what might be a sweet spot for participation. Again, kind of going back to, I think that broader discussion is probably going to take some more time. But I'm happy to kind of chime in on that. So I think I'm comfortable with this 5 p.m. Did you, Councilmember Davis, did you make that suggestion as well? That would that be the motion that we're moving forward here today, is some form of a time, shorter time than the 15 minutes that we've been suggesting? Was that part of that or no?
I didn't make the motion for this agenda. Councilmember Arenas did.
Okay,
And
you weren't asking for that to be included then?
I would love for it to be included, but if you wanted to come back as a memo, I think Councilmember Cohen and I would be both very happy to do that, and we can agendize it for next week's rules meeting.
Okay, yeah, I thought for the broader discussion that was fine. I also think it's fine if we want to raise a suggestion to the council on a something different of a time limit for this next meeting as well. I have my own feelings on that, as you all know, and I may have my own vote on the way I feel about it, but I think it's worth discussions because there's no way any of us can claim we've got it perfect, right? I mean, it's certainly, it's a challenge whichever way you look at it. So,
well,
but I'm comfortable then with the motion as is. I don't know, the motion, Councilmember Arenas, did you want to shift it to 5 p.m.? Were you
Yes,
comfortable with that?
I do. I was going to say that earlier, but we take turns, i.e. the issue with waiting in line, right? But I was gonna take that suggestion from Councilmember Davis as she just finished speaking. Yes, I like that time certain, not before 5 p.m.
And
No,
Councilmember Arenas, can I throw in another variable? Actually, the ad sheet is the hazard pay item. So that could impact.
That's in the 8s.
In the 8s?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well then, I walk that back then. It's not going to impact it.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think we can bring back next week a suggestion on the time thing. I just wanted to bring it up today and see what people's thoughts were, but I think we can come up with, a thoughtful suggestion rather than try to throw something together right now. As far as the time certain, I think we ought to consider in the future being even more specific on time certain, because I think, as we said before, saying not before doesn't really guarantee anything. And I'm more concerned about people coming, as Councilmember Varela said, tuning into a meeting and then still sitting there for 5 hours because they were told it won't be before 5 o'clock and it still comes at 10 o'clock. I mean, last night's example, I don't think anybody anticipated that the meeting would go as long as it did last night. And so we didn't plan to put that item at 11 o'clock last night. It just happened that way because other items went much longer than we expected. We could have said that item won't be before 7 or before 8 and really felt that it probably would have been around 7 or 8 and it came at 11. So it seems to me that there should be a way to figure out more time certainty on items, whether it means suspending a discussion to get to a time certain item for ones that we feel need to be at certain times, or whether there's ways to order things so that the items we know will go longer get put at later times so that we can get to items that need to have exposure earlier. I think that it's possible for us to be more thoughtful about that in the future. And one other thing, and I think that's been happening recently, is that these public hearings that we've been having, like we had yesterday on COVID, are running much longer than we expect them to. So we might have to think about how we set some time limits on those public hearings, or put like a time limit on the hearing and then come back to the hearing later in the meeting or something. So maybe say we're going to have a 2-hour public hearing and then finish it after we go to some time certain items so that we can get some business done while we're at a reasonable time for people. And that would have to go along with like the suggestion I brought up before, so that everyone has a chance to participate during the time certain part of it early, and then participate again during the time certain part late, because we don't know, because we never know how long those public hearings are going to go. So anyway, those are my thoughts, but I'm certainly, I think those are things we should all think about as we go forward.
No, definitely. I think those are all really good suggestions, and I can say that I'm willing to try anything and see how it works. So, let's try to brainstorm and come up with some ideas and some solutions to have the meetings run smoother. So we have a motion, and did we get a second on the motion?
I'll second. I don't know if there was one.
Okay. Has been moved and seconded. Tony, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, but I just want to confirm it's not before 5 p.m.
That's correct.
Arenas,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Corrales,
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So there's no meeting the following week. So we're on to the public record. And let me see. Do we have any public comments? Paul Soto.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Chappie. I'm requesting to speak on the last item that you just had. I was just able to get on, so I'm asking the council's permission to speak on the last item.
On the agenda for February
Yes.
9th?
Yes.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to state with respect to what Councilman Cohen was saying, I would like it if we can possibly have a conversation or agendize it in a prioritization method. What I mean by that is all COVID issues that are COVID related, we know what they are: rent, the hazard pay, the COVID report, that those are something completely separate because they are all connected. Okay, and then every other type of item, there's another city council day for that. And here's the reason why. My logic is this: I, as a citizen, am being deprived of two things: due process and equal protection under the law. As a citizen, I'm being deprived of the democratic process to engage in it, and that's a constitutionally protected right. And so I would ask Attorney Freeman to really explore that, because that's what I'm being denied, and I would like those protected and advocated for, because this last night should be embarrassing for certain people. That meeting should be very embarrassing, very embarrassing. I was embarrassed by it, very embarrassed and ashamed of what is becoming of us when we have that level of disrespect and complete apathy and indifference towards the suffering that is going on in the city that you vowed to protect the constitutional rights of the citizens that you are a representation of. So I would ask that a prioritization, all COVID related issues, one separate council meeting, and then the other, as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Do any of my colleagues wish to change their vote based on that public comment? If not, we'll go to the next speaker, Blair Beekman.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the words of Paul Soto. To try to add a bit to that, if I can, I have a public comment I want to speak about. But yeah, I wanted to thank yourselves for the care that you took on that last item. Paul Soto mentioned maybe there's a way you can have all the COVID-19 issues between 1:30 and 5, and then between 5 and 9 o'clock you can have, like a different set of items, the most important items of the night. Of course, you can vary that and have the specialized COVID issues between 5 and 9, but maybe what Paul said, to have a block of the COVID issues each week between 1 and 4 gives people a consistency. And then 5 to 9, I mean, to have, the most important items of the evening, that would be really cool. And then the remainder, after that. So thanks a lot. To simply offer, to clarify myself, it's rent freeze issues, I guess you voted on last night, and just a thank you to all sides and how you negotiated. That was very nice of you, of everyone. Thank you. I'd simply like to remind that with the ceremonial lighting of City Hall for Martin Luther King, it is a very good time we can all understand his good ideas around the issues of nonviolence. That can simply include at this time the studied better human ideals of equity and reimagine. It is this good reasoning and a positiveness that can hold the events of the US Capitol accountable, while at the same time it can begin to invite all sides to understand what can be the ideas of unity, and together begin to consider and ask questions towards what can be our better human reasoning and understanding as individuals and as a society. Thank you. With 15 seconds, reimagine and equity ideas are really important, good stuff, and we shouldn't be afraid of them, and they should be ideas that we can talk about openly. And I guess we're at the next stage of how to talk about them openly, basically. So good luck to our efforts in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bringing it back to my colleagues. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Tony?
Arenas? Arenas? Cohen?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Peralez?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, Tony, I apologize.
Thank you.
All right, next item is F1. Since this is deferred, Tony, do we need to take any action?
No.
Okay. All right, so on to G2, which is the 457 plan resolution. Councilmember Davis, would you like to speak to this first or go to public comments?
You can go to public comment first.
Okay. Paul.
It's a bit frustrating to discuss these issues of finance, especially considering Councilwoman Davis's vote last night, and not just the vote, but the way that she voted to lend any legitimacy to her position on these types of finances. I mean, how much cognitive dissonance does one have to overcome in order to understand that we have to prioritize the resources in this city and the direction that they're going, because human beings are dying in your city. Human beings are dying in your city, and they are dying through neglect. Neglect is an action. It's an act of omission. There is an omitting of an act that compassion and understanding should compel. And so this is, it's embarrassing for me to come to my city, the city of my birth, the city of my legacy, the city of my ancestors, and talk to adults and talk to representatives of my city in this way. It's frustrating and embarrassing for me, but I'll do it. I'll do it because I know who I'm advocating for. I literally represent the voices of literally hundreds of thousands of our citizens in the city. I know that I do, because if they heard me, they would understand and they would give their assent. So I would ask that there be some checks and balances on this kind of juggernaut of just talking about retirements, people's retirement. When people are dying, I'm asking if there can be some type of prioritization with respect to the COVID issues in all the related ways in which COVID is infecting, impacting, and elucidating the historical injustices that the target victim of COVID is experiencing in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Blair?
Hi, thank you. I wanted to speak to kind of retirement planning issues and from the last item. I hope I can speak to them on this item if it's okay. And to thank Paul Soto, I'm trying to learn how, we can talk about retirement plans within the COVID framework and how that all can work together. I hope this can help him understand that purpose. I wanted to again remind that I've enjoyed the retirement planning meetings of city government. They have offered simple, good ways to understand what to possibly expect in the next few years. For instance, there is quite a rational argument that 2021 can be a year of minimal inflation. It has helped a lot in my thinking and decision making to understand the severity of how to plan for economic issues and COLA adjustments for the year 2021. And now, interestingly, can be of help with current questions of a $5 an hour raise hazard pay for frontline grocery workers in this time of COVID-19. Additional $5 an hour for the next 6 months seems it could be covered very well in what retirement planning meetings have offered as what can be a year of stagnant inflation in the year 2021. I think the question of the mayor and most others of city council is not being clear exactly how the economy can develop after a 6-month period and past September 2021. In what was referred to as a slippery slope at last night's council meeting can actually be some of our decent regular practices, and to ask that if we simply have a 6-month time period for an additional $5 an hour hazard pay, what would be direction could we go into 2022 and beyond? Those questions could become more clear by July and August. This is simple good thinking of myself is simply from attending retirement city planning meetings of city government. Thank you for this public service.
Thank you. Bringing it back to my colleagues, Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this memo is just for a small technical change, and I held it all of last year because there was so much going on with COVID and with the Office of Employee Relations. And so what it is for the council members who are not in CalPERS, who chose not to be in CalPERS, what those of us who chose not to be in CalPERS were in or are in is the 457 plan, which is usually used for temporary and unbenefited employees. There are no investment options in that plan, which wasn't something that, frankly, I knew about when I chose it, that it's really just a cash account. And so I talked with Jennifer Shembry about this, and I see that you're here, Jennifer, thank you, in case my colleagues have any questions. And there's a 401A plan that the city also already has set up for other employees. And I'm not sure how that is currently used, but I know that there are other investment options in that. And so that's just what I'm asking for, is for council members to have an option that has investment plans as investment options, as opposed to just a cash account or CalPERS. So CalPERS would remain the default option, but instead of having a cash account as a second option, it would be a 401A plan. So I move approval.
Great.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Jennifer, I don't know if you have any additional input.
Nope, no additional input. We can definitely work on this.
Okay. And I see Councilmember Perales raised his hand, so go ahead, Raul.
Thank you. I totally support this. I actually, as an officer, have had the 401A plan, and I at times have used the stable option when I don't want to invest anything. So if you have the 457, it is not really worth much. So I agree with that. My only question was, I know typically we'll get a response just on what the workload already. It sounds like there wasn't at least a formal response on that. So is this just not a big heavy lift? Is this just something that can be done fairly easy? It sounded like.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very, very heavy lift.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And I don't know if Nora wants to speak to, I think the attorney's office will have to review part of it potentially. So I don't want to speak for the attorney's office, but from HR's perspective, we think that it's something that we could manage.
And
Okay.
my understanding is that our office has looked at it or has, I don't know if there are any new issues that have come up, but I know we've looked at it and nothing was flagged for me.
maybe make it simple. Lee, this was like green light essentially then, right? Oh,
Yes, it is, and because it kind of dealt with the council members governing of their own, we did not do a form on this, given kind of the nature of it. It had been discussed, but necessarily, yes, it's a green light.
okay. Yeah, and I get that. I just mainly was looking at like workload because I'm just not certain, right, what that what this takes. I'm supportive of it, and if it's a green light, then great. Thanks.
And I checked with Jennifer before I even put the memo out for that very reason.
And to clarify, the plan's already set up. So the 401A is already set up. It would be a lot bigger deal if we were setting up a new plan, but just moving council members into a plan we already have, we didn't think was a big lift at all.
Great. So we have motion and a second. Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next item is G3, public hearing on proposed San Jose Water Company rate increases. And I'm going to go to the public first. And Paul, you're the first one. So go ahead.
Again,
Hey, Paul? Oh, we lost you. Or you're back. Paul, we can't hear you.
We can come back around to him, Vice Mayor, if you want.
Okay, next is Blair.
Hi, thank you. I mumbled and garbled my last words from my last comment. I hope I can say them again and relate it to this item, in fact, interestingly. To ask that if we simply have a 6-month time period for an additional $5 in hazard pay now, by July and August of this year, can a more clear direction into 2022 and beyond be better understood? Thank you. You know, the last item I talked about, this seems based on retirement plan meetings. This year, 2021, does not have to be considered so much an inflationary year. This meeting will be about, you know, how to possibly raise rates into 2022. We could be very well covered and safe for 2021. It's my thinking, how can we continue that cost of living to be flat into 2022? I don't know how to do that. So I will not be like really supporting such this measure, and I'll be trying to ask questions how we can continue to maintain a flat curve of inflation into 2022. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. PJ?
This is PJ, I think, Pat, and I am calling to address this item. And this item is proposed or recommended, I think, by Mayor Liccardo, and it is to agendize the GRC General Rate Case application discussion for the General Council meeting. And it is to point out a 21% increase in water rates for San Jose citizens. And that's on top of a 67% increase since 2016. As in the mayor's memo, this rate increase transition water access to a luxury commodity and impacts the low-income citizens of San Jose greatly for reasons that will be discussed at the agendized meeting. I would like the Rules Committee to consider inviting representatives from the CPUC's Public Advocate's Office to augment San Jose Water Company's invitation that was tendered by the mayor. It should be noted that 20% of the ratepayers, San Jose citizens, are forced to request a discount in their rates. And that is unconscionable, I think, for a basic commodity like water. I would also recommend that the Rules Committee consider broadening the scope of the discussion to include other items such as the rates that are going to be changed for changing water meters and IT technicians hiring and employees of San Jose losing their job when meters are no longer manually read. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Paul.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to echo and expand on Blair Beekman's and the previous gentleman's position that the commodification on something that is so essential and absolutely necessary for life, that's not a debatable issue. The necessity for life, for water or for shelter, these things are not debatable issues. I think we're not doing something to the disadvantaged, to the poor, to the impoverished, to the red line. We're not doing something to them. What we are actually doing is something to ourselves when we allow and permit ourselves as city representatives to actually entertain and debate what is actually a moral and ethical issue, not a legal one. And so I don't want to get into those arenas because George Orwell articulated, and so did Aldous Huxley, it beautifully in 1984 in A Brave New World, on this dehumanization process to where we create these managerial bureaucratic systems that dehumanize not only the people that become the necessary victims of such a system, but we as human beings become victimized as well because we are a participatory government, meaning that the people that are participating in that dehumanization and that apathy do something to ourselves. You know,
I think we lost Paul. So we'll go to the next speaker, AC.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Go ahead.
This is Anne in South San Jose, and I just wanted to ask the committee to approve the public hearing on the water company rate increase. Thanks.
Thank you. Gonna bring it back to my colleagues, but before I do that, is there anyone from the mayor's office who feels compelled to speak on this item? If not, Councilmember Arenas.
I move to approve the item, and I'll tell you that my portion of the district that is struggling the most during this pandemic is the one that's going to be hardest hit. This is the service area that will have this 23% increase during just difficult times. Last year, my team and I, we fought really hard to have the San Jose municipal water rates go 8.6, and these are this is an area in my district where it isn't as lower income as the part with that will impact with this 23% hike, and I just think during the pandemic, we really should be cognizant of some of these increases. And I'm so grateful to our mayor that has proactively put this on our agenda and put this before us so that we can have all of our voices heard. And so just really appreciative and fear that my residents, especially those that are struggling the most, are going to have a really difficult time making ends meet and keeping water in their homes if this increase actually passes. So,
would you like to make the motion?
Oh yes, sorry, I started out with a motion. So yes, motion to approve.
Second.
Arenas,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
That'd be appreciated.
Davis,
Aye.
Perales,
Aye.
Jones.
Aye. And Tony, did you get the addition that I made about the March 16th date?
No, you froze, so we didn't.
Oh, you didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering why nobody was responding to me. Yes, I wanted to have include in the motion a time certain for 7 p.m. for the March 16th meeting, council meeting.
Does anybody want to change their vote? And does the motion make
No.
that?
I just was asked, do we know that the folks were available to be there on that date? I mean, I know he said that they invited representatives to be there and they said they could come, but it didn't have a date. Because the memo said that does the memo have a date on it, that they were coming that date?
No.
Oh, okay. There was a suggestion of having CPUC there represented as well. Would you want to look into that?
This Councilmember Lee Wilcox, City Manager's Office. I think we would talk to the CUPC about participating. I know Carrie Romanow is on the line, our Director of Environmental Services Department, who has been in discussion with the Water District, so she can provide more timing on the date or more information on the timing of the date, but we can also bring this back in a future Horizon report if additional flexibility is needed. Carrie?
Thank you. Great point all around. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to ensure the participants we'd like to be there can be there. And then, as Lee suggested, we'll come back with a date.
So we probably don't want to specify the date as part of this motion, but maybe a time certain. I mean, I don't.
That's fine. We can come back and establish the date. So
yeah, I mean, I think soon is good, but I just don't know. We just have to make sure that the right people can be there.
no, that's great point. All right. So
And I have one thing also, do you mind, Vice Mayor? Our office has been in touch with the CPUC, the Public Advocate's Office, and we're working with them to coordinate. In the past, we've had a administrative law judge come down and be part of our formal hearing to enhance the record, as the mayor suggested. Things are being done by Zoom now, so we will continue that effort. We don't have a commitment yet, but we'll work on that.
all right. Thank you very much. So we already had the vote on the original motion without any dates attached. So we're on to open forum. And I see Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Paul Soto, again, Attorney Freeman, I would really like to hear your logic at the next council meeting. I'm looking to hear the actual logical, legal explanation for what happened. What Chappie Jones, what Vice Mayor Chappie did is Councilman Mahan was picking from forbidden fruit. That fruit is tainted the minute that Chappie introduced it. So anything that flows from that, I as a citizen am deprived of debate that is untainted from that perspective. And as a citizen, I'm looking to you to protect me because you actually work for me. I'm counting on you on this one, because I please somebody extend my respect and my gratitude to Councilwoman Esparza, because she caught it. She was quick. She was quick, and she caught that. Okay, I caught everything that happened in that meeting. You know, I caught the perspectives. I'm aware of the law. No, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to be. I'm a citizen, and I've educated myself around these kinds of issues. And so what I'm looking for is your legal perspective to actually dismantle that entire conversation. That has to start over. The entire thing has to start. The entire process was tainted, and the one that is going to be victimized by that being tainted by the forbidden fruit that Vice Mayor Chappie introduced, and that Mahan actually, I mean, he repeated what Liccardo said. Liccardo told him what to say, and then Mahan repeats it like a robot, like he's a puppet master behind the scenes telling Mahan what to do. And I know you saw the whole thing. I know, and from a legal perspective, I know you were just like, oh my God. So please protect us. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Blair?
All right, thank you. To try to complete my words from last night's open forum, in the ideas of good preparation and planning, natural disasters like wildfires, sea level rise, and earthquakes have to be considered and included in Vision 2040 plans. To prepare for natural disasters in the next decade around the SF Bay Area should not be an excuse to continue to avoid and hide good open public policy ideas and practices, or inhibit the development of open, progressive, sustainable ideas and projects. We should not have to give up on quality, or for instance, good renewable energy ideas and practices simply because of a possible natural disaster events in the Bay Area in the next 5 to 10 years and into the 2040s. A final reminder that it is sustainable ideas and good open public policies that can offer a quicker return to our better human nature after a natural disaster event. Thank you. With the previous item of the water board, it just dawned on me and occurred to me that with such a very high raise in rates that you're possibly going for of 25%, did I hear correctly? That, or 23%, that sounds like that you're considering like to create and to organize a large subsidy plan for such a high rate increase. And I've been working, I've been attending East Bay Community Energy, local community energy meetings. They've done the same practice, and that way they can work on kind of a tiered system. And, you know, that way they are able to create renewable energy and with totally no usage of, or minimal usage of dirty energy. I don't know how good of an idea it is, but it's the subsidy idea that I hope can be talked about for the San Jose Water Company, and that has a whole bunch of ramifications, and I hope that that'll be addressed at the upcoming public meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. That's all the public speakers. Meeting is adjourned.